the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, Christmas is done. Bah humbug. Got that shit out of the way. And we have about 6 more days actually 5 more days to a new year. 2025 is just around the corner. But I said, I hope everybody enjoyed your holidays, spending time with family and friends. Shout outs to all the people out there who follow my channel and ladies who have become friendly with since doing this content. I appreciate y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed your holiday, and we can't wait for the new year. So, folks, I always like to get someone on here who have a perspective about bodybuilding, especially a competitor who really, gaining knowledge and respect. We have here the lovely Mrs. Robbi Carlson, and she is a competitor, and also she's a posing coach, and also she has served our country in our United States military. So, ma'am, every time I say, like I said, my have family in the military, my oldest niece and my youngest nephew, I don't say thank you for your service because you're not providing service. I say this as a citizen. I appreciate the sacrifice you have made on behalf of our country. That's what I would say. Thank you is never enough for what y'all do. So Robbi's a competitor and also a posing coach, and she has some interesting perspective on certain things, especially a certain thing is going on right now. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but we welcome Robbi, and thank you for your time, ma'am. And please share with us what got you started in this sport, as I call it, muscle and masculinity. Appreciate it.
So I actually got started with bodybuilding when I was in college. I had a kinesiology instructor. I was going to school for exercise science, and I was getting my school paid for through a scholarship with ROTC. So I was getting a lot more familiar with weights throughout college and beginning to love it. And this was about probably 2010, 2011. So it was really when it was just really starting to become acceptable for women to have muscle. I think this was around the time where Dana Lynn Bailey was starting to get bigger as well. And she was catching a lot of heat for the size and just conditioning that she had usually in general. But it was still very much at my school. You'd see a lot of the girls go upstairs. They would be on the cardio equipment and just kind of the smaller aerobics weights. And I was always downstairs with the fraternity guys or my buddies in the ROTC program lifting, and didn't really think anything of it. And I had a kinesiology instructor that came up to me one day and asked me if I'd ever really heard of or thought about bodybuilding. And at that point, my answer was no. I'd heard of it. My best friend growing up, her dad was super into it, but it wasn't really something that I had researched. And so he had asked me if he connected me with an alumni that was competing, if it would be something I was interested in. And so I said yes, connected with her, started in bikini and fitness, actually, when bikini was brand new. After college, I went into aviation in the Army for a while. So I didn't really have a ton of time, nor really the maturity to be disciplined and consistent enough on top of everything else. So it went kind of to the wayside. And then 2019, I was really starting to miss it. I was ready to get back into it. So I came back into bodybuilding in 2019 as a figure competitor. Did that until 2021. And then that was when I decided to switch to women's physique. And that's where I am. That's where I plan to stay. It's the division that I absolutely love.
Well, I understand that because I think everybody finds that division that works for them. A lot of competitors get into the bodybuilding either through bikini, which is very popular, division, especially if you want to start out. Then figure, because those ladies still have those good aesthetics. Like if you go back, throwback female bodybuilders. When this bodybuilding started out, it was almost like figure. The ladies used to wear high heels and stuff, but then it changed over. The evolution of the sport has changed over the years. And being in college, I know a lot of people think this is the mindset of other people. Especially just for women. If I lift like 5 pounds, I'm gonna look like Ronnie Coleman. No, because one thing is you have to say there's a lot more to it, just lifting weights.
Yeah, and I even deal with that now. I did quite a few years after I got out. Like the first several years I was out of the military, I worked as a personal trainer, and even now I have friends that are wanting to lose weight but once you really get to talking to them, they really just want to recomp. They still use the word tone. Like a lot of women like to use the word tone, which really all that is gaining some muscle and losing some body fat. And I run into the same thing even still. Like they're afraid that if they lift that they're going to get huge. And I just tell them, I said, I wish it was that easy. So there's a lot more that goes into it. There's a lot of consistent nutrition. You have to eat enough to actually be able to grow. If you don't do that, you're not going to be able to gain tons of muscle anyway. It's actually a lot of hard work for women to put a really good amount of muscle tissue on.
Yeah. It's so much that's involved in it. Like one thing is the consistency, the diet, the training, and this is always the mindset of everybody. Everybody talk about, oh, growth hormones and steroids, but that's the small factor of it. Because I know people who told me who are pros and who are competitors say, like, George, if people take what I take and they don't follow the same regimen and plan that I do, they're not going to look like me. That's the truth of it. We got here, someone's pop in. We have a man, Geo James. He says, love the channel. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So, what was that first experience like on stage for yourself? Your first time competing.
Oh man, it was interesting. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I was in bikini at that point. I'm not really a bikini girl. I don't really have the personality, the stage personality of a lot of bikini girls. Still don't to this day. But I did have fun. I remember being on stage and, it was like a little bit of a moment where I was doing something that was kind of outside of my comfort zone, but I did have a lot of fun. Like that was one of the things that I loved most about being on stage.
Yeah, because it's experience. We get out there and you are presenting your body to other people and being judged on your style, how you move, how you build your body. It's so much involved to it, especially critiques. And bikini, well, no offense to the division, it don't really get to me. So I think since doing the content, I might have interviewed at least 3 ladies who are bikini pros, and the rest were like amateurs. But generally, most of my stuff is about the women, is like women's bodybuilding, physique. I, really have good my ladies in physique I talk to. I've even talked to some ladies in figure. I mean, really giving those recognition, those divisions that really represent what is female bodybuilding.
Yeah. And I mean, every single division requires work. Like you're not going to go on stage looking like that, especially like at the pro level or the national amateur level. You're not going to go up there looking the way that you do if you're bringing a really good stage physique without a lot of hard work. And that's regardless across the divisions, whether you're bikini all the way up to bodybuilding. I think what I love most there with bodybuilding is, for me, especially when I look back at like the 80s and 90s, the crucial piece that it seems like it's gotten forgotten. It's coming back, but posing was such a huge part of it. And so a lot of people, they see the physique and then they think that's just the bodybuilding, but people forget every sport has a skill, and our skill set in bodybuilding is actually the posing. You're creating your body, which becomes the tool that you can present, but it's the skill of posing that makes bodybuilding what it is.
Yeah, because there's some great poses. Like we're talking, where I got into, because she posted this video of Diane Dennis. If you remember Diane Dennis, she was very popular in good part of the 80s and 90s, multiple time Olympic competitor, mother of 4 kids. Beautiful eyes, striking eyes. She reminds me of actively Mae Foster. People like one lady I know of, Yolanda Hughes, or lady. I was watching your interview with Ryan Johnson from DNA Spot. You mentioned Janine Lukowski. Janine's a friend of mine, and we know each other for a good while. She's a great poser. Sheila Balek, Christina Mendoza. I mean, there's so many people. I know just amazing women who have just skill sets. And you go back to the classes like Tony Peterson, who was well known. He was one of the top, peers, male bodybuilders, but also he was pretty good poster back in the day.
Yeah, and when you talk about Janine, it's pretty funny. When 2021, I was getting ready to compete. I was, I think, 6 weeks out. of a national show, but I went and worked at the Tampa Pro for a suit sponsor that I had, and I actually met Janine, and I had a couple people, just because of the way that I trained and my mentality toward it, that would tell me that I would be a lot better suited for women's physique. And I didn't really see it yet, because on the one hand, like, that division, it was, even then, was growing pretty big, and I didn't know if I could get that much size without taking steps that I just really wasn't willing to. But also at that point, I couldn't actually, believe it or not, see myself posing on stage, because at that point, like, I hadn't really studied or really looked into the 80s and 90s, like, golden era of posing. Like, I hadn't been exposed to that stuff yet. So a lot of what my experience was based off of was things that I'd seen on stage at that point, and it seemed kind of like goofy and whatnot. And Janine was performing on stage, and the first time I saw her perform was the first time I was like, oh, like that's what it's supposed to be. I remember she did this routine, and I had goosebumps by the end of it, and I was like, that's what I want to do. Like, that if I could go up on stage and do that and make people feel that way, then yeah, I would absolutely love this division.
I remember one year she won Best Poser at a show, and I remember also I went to my first bodybuilding show. That was Savannah Pro, and that's the year when she competed. She had did what she did. I think she came back after doing with a surgery because of her with her shoulder, and she won Best Poser because I remember one guy who I'm a fan of who say women's bodybuilding, yo Jake, I want that money. I want that gun. That's Jake Wood. I'm sorry, till I say his name. I don't know a lot of guys named Jake, so I got to do it. So he gave her a nice envelope. I could see the money in it because hey, she made good took a chance from that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually got the chance to talk to her after. So she was also sponsored, or getting ready to shortly be sponsored, by my suit sponsor at that point. And I remember talking to her after the show, and she was asking me what division I was in, and she was thinking WPD, and I told her figure, and then she even was like, you need to come to WPD. Like, I think you would fit in over here. Um, so it's funny when you bring her up, and I think back on that, because it was literally a time at that point, as much as I'm into posing now, I couldn't have even fathomed it until I met her.
Mm-hmm. See, with figure and figure, physique, and fitness, and you the posing is just different compared to like the others. Like with with bikini wellness, you just got to turn around, move back and forth, and stick out your butt. With figure, you have just a quarter turns. Physique, you have few less poses compared to women's bodybuilding. But here's the one thing between those two divisions: you don't have to wear the high heels anymore. You just kick those poppers off there. I know quite a few ladies told me that they were happy to leave physique and leave those high heels behind because I heard so many stories about that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I remember walking in the heels, because the only time I would ever wear them would be when I was practicing posing for shows. Because I'm a complete Chucks, Vans wearing kind of girl, same type of shoes I wore in high school. I still wear at 33. So I remember walking out of nationals, because I also used to have a lot more face piercings and stuff. I have half of my head's usually shaved, like, it's grown out a little bit, but it's due to be cut. But I remember going up for figure, and it's like I put all this work in, and I remember having to take out my piercings, having to change how the part in my hair was and everything else, just because the look that I had was pretty much too edgy for that division. But the problem was, is that look was me. And so it was like, one, I go up here and I do these 4/4 turns. So I worked hard. I don't really have that much stage time. And then now I'm going up here and I'm completely changing my appearance from what my day to day is to something that just really isn't true to me. And then you add the heels on top of it. So I remember walking out of nationals, and I told my coach that, the next time I step on stage, I'm going to step on stage. I'm going to step on stage exactly as who I am. And like, if they don't like it, that's their problem. But I'm like, I'm not going to change myself for the stage ever again. I'm not doing it anymore. So it was a very good day. I took my heels, I threw them in the trash. It was a extremely therapeutic moment.
it goes back to like one of my favorite comedians. That's Bernie Mac says people don't like who you are. Fuck. That's it. With quick ears and lips and handcuffs on the hands. That's what you got to do. You got to live for you. But like I said, you got to remember this is a sport with a lot of judging. They critique you. And the one thing is like you have tattoos, and I talked to one lady who she has a lot of tattoos, and that sometimes can be an issue sometimes with judges because you can't see the detail of the muscles depending on where you get them at. Like if it's anything like a big back tattoo, it covers your back, as quite a few competitors, how they place or how they do well at a show is by the condition of the back, especially in figure, because you have to have those crap shoulders, the broad shoulders, you have that nice back, have that, one lady told me, that upside down Dorito look.
Yep. And yeah, that's actually, it's one part of the reason. So like I have some tattoos. I have a half sleeve from basically my forearm up to my elbow on one arm. And then I have a few other tattoos, but they're all either on like the rib cage or the wrist or something that doesn't really obstruct my body. And partly just because as long as I keep competing, I don't want to get anything anywhere that could cover up any detail. The other part of it too is I'm very big with tattoos of just not getting them just for the sake of getting them. Like if I get a tattoo, I've usually thought about it for a while. I've got a story behind it. But yeah, it can. I think it can definitely, some people say like you don't get downgraded for it, but it can definitely be distracting.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not personally a big fan of them. Yeah, I know a lot of competitors get them because it's very popular. It's the thing. Now I got enough scars in my body. I don't need no tattoos. So, folks, what we're going to do while we have Robbi here, we're going to jump into her social media for a bit. If you want to follow her links are in the description of this live stream. Check her out. Support her. Show interest. This lady has some good bottom knowledge, especially about posing a little bit about history. But guys, and Robbi, I don't do this. I do this as a disclaimer to guys out there. Guys, no D pics. Stop it. Get some help. What are you? Come on, guys. That's like I said, Robbi, I know ladies who come friendly with somebody said, guys, we're saying the weirdest shit. But come on, guys, have some common sense.
Yeah. I've actually been pretty fortunate. I think part of it, especially the last couple years, I've been very careful of what I put on social media, just because sometimes I think you can put out something and it still won't necessarily attract the right audience. And like, that's not the kind of thing that I want. I don't want that kind of attention. So I've been pretty lucky to avoid it for the most part. I've had a few weird ones to where I've blocked some people, but yeah, no, don't send that stuff my way. It will not be very well received.
Yeah, there's like I said, there's an old schmo saying. Robbi says, "When you ladies rock hard, we're rock hard." That's it. So we're gonna jump into social media for a bit, folks. And here we go. And here she's do a little posing here. I mean, you got some skill there. I mean, that's very classic style to you. What do you feel is what really inspires you when you are just posing and moving and try to get the angles of the moves right?
So I think first for me, my inspiration actually comes first from just kind of a story. I've always been super into music. I used to play piano and stuff when I was younger. And then even when I was a kid, I always had headphones on and had some sort of music playing. So for me, the inspiration usually starts with the song and then what it represents for me. Usually there's some moment in my life that I can either think back on, or maybe there's something that I'm going through in the present, and that music itself will really help that emotion come out. And then from there, I'll look at different poses as, how can I pose my body in a certain way or move a certain way that actually matches the music or what the story that I'm trying to tell with the song is.
Yeah, you got some nice little poses here. You're doing that one style from Angela Yo at the recent Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Did you get a chance to check the Olympia? What's your thoughts on it?
So I didn't end up watching the Olympia this year, if I'm being completely honest.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, don't feel bad. Who's this gentleman right here with the little doggy?
So that is my husband. That is my husband, Scott. He loves his electric skateboard. And then that is my dog. She is 11 years old, but she is still the most adventurous dog on the planet. She's one of those dogs I can take to do anything, whether it's a swim or a hike or whatnot. And so we decided to get a harness for hiking just because since she's a little bit older, we have a few hikes that get a little steep or the steps get kind of steep. So we got the harness originally so I could take her with me. But then we decided to go ahead and throw some doggles on her and see how she liked the electric skateboard, and she loved it.
That's good. And how long y'all Scott been together, and how when did y'all first meet?
So we met in we met in end of October 2021. And we became pretty good friends, but he was actually getting ready to move like several states away for a while. So we were just friends for probably almost a couple of years, about a year and a half, but kept in touch. And then in 2023, he ended up moving back to North Carolina. And shortly after that, we decided, we had a lot of fun together. We had a really great friendship and decided to take the risk and see what would happen in a relationship. And then the rest has basically just been history.
That's pretty good. And you live in North Carolina right now, right?
Yep. We live close to Charlotte.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good. It's been a long time since I've been in Charlotte. It's been years. North Carolina. I think I'm from North Carolina. I've been born and lived here most of my life, and I find there is a growing community in bodybuilding North Carolina. I need to check it out. Oh, folks, this is the video I'm going to show you where I actually had the chance to meet her, and this is through this video I got to know her. So here we go.
All right, so this month I want to introduce you guys, whoever I can find that has been known as a phenomenal artistic posing artist. And today I'm introducing you guys to Diana Dennis. If you've never heard of her, which if you haven't, you have to look her up. She was a former competitor that competed in the 80s and 90s, and she's known as one of the best posers of all time. Now, this is back when posing really was embraced as an art. And if you look at her and you look at her moves, like that pose right there, she does all of these unconventional, beautiful poses. And even though they aren't just the mandatories, you can't help but be in absolute awe when you watch her move. You see the shapes that she creates with her bodies. And it's just something that is extremely beautiful. She was somebody that was known to get the crowds really, really going, get their attention. Sometimes her routines were very, very soft. Sometimes she added in some acting and some humor. But regardless, whatever she did, she always wowed the audience. This is bodybuilding. This is art. Diana Dennis, 1991 Miss Olympia. Check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, right. I remember 91 was the last year for Bev Francis also. That was the last Olympia. And Bev, she came in like a monster. I mean, I just, it's one of my favorite, poses of her. She's dancing, she's music, and she's doing the finger wagging and all that. Yeah, it's just classic, And here is your last competition was 2023 at the Amateurs Olympia. So that was in Orlando. What was the critique from the judges that last time you competed?
So mostly it was just pretty much more size. I could still maybe come in a little bit more conditioned, but mostly it was just a size thing. Just kind of overall thickness, overall development in the legs, a little bit wider in the shoulders, a little bit wider in the back, just pretty much building up that X frame. This routine I actually built for the Olympia. It's pretty much my story of the 2 years leading up to it and put everything into it. And it actually ended up being pretty cool. Cause like I said, I'm really bad about this. It's something I need to get better at. But as far as like who's who in bodybuilding and everything else, I really do it because I love it. So I'm now kind of catching up on who everybody is. But this woman came up after the show was over, and she came up and complimented me on my routine and was telling me that she was like really, really moved by it. And I told her thank you and that I really, really appreciate it. And as we were walking away, my coach was like, "Do you know who that was?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "That's Jake Wood's wife." So.
Oh.
So, like I said, to like knowing who and all of that stuff, it's definitely something that's an area I really need to improve on. But at the same time, I kind of like it as well, because I think when I do run into people, because I don't have this like amped up vision of who they are in my head, it's also allowed me to relate to people on more of an individual level, like a human level. And I've made some really cool contacts because of that. So
Yeah, you keep yourself. Yeah, it keeps yourself level headed. You don't like. I know, like one person, like we talk about Daly Bailey, and she is probably one of the top women in the sport. You met her,
yep.
and this is a picture right here. You know, that's a legend. She's the one that really represented women's physique back in the day. Yeah, she's all right. I say that. The one person I talk about that I'm a fan of, and I just admire her is, I can't help it myself. I can't help it. It's Andrea Shaw. She's my girlfriend. So I just think she's just amazing. I mean, she has that great aesthetic of both muscle and femininity. I mean, great look to her. She was working with Sid Gillen when opposing. I mean, she looked pretty good at the Olympia. I mean, Angela Yo, that's one lady who was a marvelous lady. And you know, and I remember I was at Savannah. I got to meet some ladies like Annie Rivicchio, who was a legend back in the day. You know, she was classic. You know, she runs Muscle Angels now, which is a photo and video company. Alina Popa, who I met. It was great meeting her because a friend of mine was one of her clients at that time. And just be at awe at some of these people. I mean, it's just, for me, I'm just a little country boy. Just go to this big show, meet these people. I just be so excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, when I really was getting introduced to a lot of people to look into was when I worked with Kai Green for a while I think it was 2022. I'd put I don't know, to this day, I still don't know how exactly it happened, but I'd put together, I think, like the first routine that I'd ever done. And I look back at it now and I'm just like, ugh. But Kai came across it and he had commented on it. And then a few days later, I posted something else that I made and he had commented on it again. And so I knew he was going out to I think it was like a FitCon expo out in Dallas. It was actually one that Dana and Rob put on with some other people. And so I ended up flying out there for a chance to talk to him, just because I knew it was a little bit of a smaller crowd compared to some of these other fitness expos. And we ended up meeting and exchanging numbers. And then he ended up flying me out to Boca to go work with them. I actually did a 3-person collaboration with them. And then I did another just 2-person, him and me. We did like a Mortal Kombat, a little bit different kind of style routine together. But he was the one that was telling me, you need to look into these people. Like you need to look into Corey Everson. Like you need to look into Anya Langer. You need to start looking at all these different women and see how that they used to pose and all these different moves that they had. And then what actually got me on to Diana Dennis was I met Kevin Lavroni this past summer. I was doing a seminar with some friends in Holland and a guy in Belgium. We decided to collaborate together and put on a seminar. Well, we went to the Fit Expo the weekend before we did the seminar, and Kevin was there talking. And the 4 of us had put together a 4-person routine to do at the beginning of our seminar. And when I heard him talking, like I could tell that there was something about the art of everything that he was really missing. And so I cut a small snippet of our routine and I just ran straight up to him as soon as he got off the stage. And I basically I introduced myself and I told him, I said, I don't want to cut off anybody that's in line, but I definitely have something that I think you would love to see. And he just told me, he goes, pull it up, let me see it. And so I pulled it up. I showed him the little snippet of the video. And then he actually pulled me and my friends up to the front, gave me his number and was like, send me the rest of this. And then he was the one a few weeks ago sent me, he's like, check out Diana Dennis. Like you need to look at her and watch her. She was one of my favorites, probably the greatest. He was like, that girl could pose her ass off. So
yeah. Kevin Lavroni, that's a legend. A multiple-time Olympic competitor, top competitor in his time, and someone like Diane, really, really impressive. Like I said, great physique, great look. Very different. It was a different look back then compared to now. And if you see it now, the sport has evolved over time. If you go from like, it's talking about Mount Rushmore, talking about people like Kim Javetsky and Linda Murray, Iris Kai and Andrea. I would do it like this. It would be Corey Everson, Linda, Iris, then Andrea. No offense to Kim, but Corey had 6 Miss Olympias, really had a bigger crossover than a lot of other competitors. She's done movies and TV shows during her career. And it's just, you get to learn a lot. Because like I said, I've been following bodybuilding before you were even born. I'm 50 now. And I've been following since I was about 8, 9 years old. And my brother used to play football here in our hometown. He used to always get the muscle mags. And guys like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lee Haney and Lee Labrada and, those guys back then. And, when I get into my, my pubescent ages, Bev Francis and Angela Langer and Laura Craval and Vicky Gates and, and those women were just something that really excited me because I hate my crime. I don't hate my crime. I know my crime is I'm a muscle car smoke. I just get excited about you ladies. I enjoy talking with y'all and get a perspective. So, as I said earlier, the divisions have evolved over time. Even if you look at bikini and wellness and figure and physique and women's bodybuilding, it's just the look has changed. And I think the big part of this could be the judging criteria. You think that is?
Yeah. So I think what has happened, at least from my perspective over time, and I'm seeing this a lot more with the new division coming out, is the issue is not having enough divisions, but the issue is keeping the look, keeping the integrity of each division. So then what happens is year after year, people come in and they're bigger and they're leaner and whatever. And then instead of the judges drawing the line at a certain point and being like, hey, you look phenomenal, but for this division, either this is a little bit too big or this is a little bit too shredded. We're going to need you to move up a division. They start awarding that. And so now that becomes the new thing for everybody to chase. And then the cycle starts all over. And it's happened with every single division. So I think right now, a lot of the problem that people have isn't even so much this new division coming out, because the new division that's coming out, it's exactly what bikini was when it started. It's the fact that this cycle always ends up repeating. You end up back in the same problem. And then now we have these really increasingly long shows, when in reality, if we would redefine the divisions and what those individual looks are, we have plenty of room and space. So if people want to stay within a certain look and compete there, they can, and they can improve on that without taking it to an extra extreme. But then if you are one of those people who really love growing and really love coming in leaner and doing all of these things, well then, all right, keep doing that. That's fine. But now let's just move you up to the division where that look actually fits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she posted this on her IG and I shared it. There's a lot of people who agree with it. Some people have different, because everybody's kind of like, I'm a fist. Me, I'm like this. I'm going to be, as particularly as I say this, I'm going to play the villain. And personally, I'm like this. I don't think that the division is really worth it. It's just, it's just too much, as my other guy likes to say, it's too much anarchy and chaos in the one. It's just sometimes this needs to be a particular type of villain that needs to say the truth is that this is bullshit. But you know what? That's just me. So. But what we're gonna do, folks, we're gonna pull up her video where she talks about this, and it's really, she gives some good points. And I wish more people, realize that, because you just, what are you doing? It's just, come on. We're gonna pull up here. And we're gonna jump in her social media a bit, and we're gonna pull up the video. And here she is, and she's talking about the whole issue with the new fit model division. So here we go.
So we have a new division and we see what they're saying about why they're doing it. And I don't think it's going to work, because the problem isn't having another division needed. It's because they're not keeping the integrity of the divisions. I'm going to use WPD as an example. So here's the criteria. I'll let you lead that. But look at this. Not as much muscle as seen in bodybuilding, and not an overly strided physique. So we have our first winner here, Dana Lynn Bailey. She was more conditioned than the figure athletes at that point in time. Clearly didn't have as much muscle. Still very hardworking, still very conditioned. Beautiful look. This is where it started. Now this is where we are. So if you look here, look at the difference between Sarah in this photo versus this photo where she's just won in 2024. the amount of muscle that's been added and the conditioning level, if that's not grainy, I don't know what is. That's bodybuilding conditioning, not women's physique according to the rules. Now they're saying that they want to bring it mainstream. Here we go, 1980s, Corey Everson, absolutely beautiful, had plenty of covers, huge model. I'm pretty sure my dad had posters in his garage. We have Dana Lynn Bailey, who paved the way for women with muscle. And you know what? Still wasn't as big as bodybuilding. And then even on the guy side, I'm going to have an example of Lila Brada, who's on the front cover. But look at the Golden Era guys. You had all sorts of them on covers of magazines. People were interested in mainstream. Problem is integrity.
That's truth. It is, you have to stick with, when you have a plan, and it's the plan that you started out with, you know, don't change midstream. We see problems. Here's the thing is, I'm like this. There's no point. The point is, don't try to bring in another division because just to basically try to cover up for an old division that has evolved. It's like any athlete. Like back in the day, football, you guys used to play with leather helmets. Now you see the percussion helmets. You look at basketball. You look at boxing. Back in the day, you used to fight for hundreds of rounds. Then they cut it down to 20, then to 15. Championship round is 12. It's 12. Championship fight is 12 rounds. No, and a regular fight is 10. It's just that the athletes are changing and evolving. Here's the thing: is that the officials need to talk to the judges. You're really wasting your time trying to solve this problem. Like, basically, how it's like this. It's a movie called Scarface. I love quote movies. And there's a part where Al Pacino plays Tony Montana. He goes to the Colombians to get the drugs. They kill his friend, and they're about to do surgery with a chainsaw. Oh, so but this isn't what they're doing. They're doing surgery with a chainsaw instead of being more precise. Saying, okay, let's take criteria that was set. We're seeing women right now who are getting bigger. I interviewed a lady. Her name is Romana Scottsy. She's planning on moving up next year from Physique to women's bodybuilding. We talked about this because it's changing. And I think a good example is why the look they're chasing after is because of what self-focus. They could have kept it. Shanique Grant could have still been champion. And they could have, kept that look. But they went with Sarah. And Sarah comes in shredded. Her quads are just sliced like cheese. And then, her glutes are just crazy. I mean, she's got a small frame. I won't think she would be great for bodybuilding because she's still got a small frame. But her condition is just too crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, for me at least, like the problem isn't having these differing levels of size and all of that stuff. That's perfectly fine if you want to have different divisions for different looks, and people want to fit into that. That's fine, but then keep that, because I've seen, especially with women's physique, there's a lot of girls I've been talking to lately, and I mean they're retiring because they love the posing part, they love the personality of women's physique, but for them, it's starting to border too close to bodybuilding now. And like, that was never a look that they wanted. And they're not interested necessarily in figure. And I hear the same with figure girls too. There will be some girls that are in figure and they love figure, but now things are starting to border to women's physique. So now they're having to make decisions of, if I want to stay here, now I maybe have to take these steps. Now I don't know if that's worth it anymore. And so it's kind of the nature of the beast right now is the different athletes they come in bigger, they come in leaner, because they're getting awarded for it. That's now the new look. And so now everybody has to chase it. So I could be wrong, possibly, but I do think that if they just kept the divisions at the certain size where they've specified, you can still get a variety of people. People are going to retire. People are going to come in and out, especially if I know in a lot of divisions with posing, we're looking at trying to get posing graded again to where people care about that. So now you actually have to come in just like the fitness girls get graded on their routines, like the divisions that have the posing routines, those get graded. There's plenty of room for people to improve in a skill set in an area without it having to grow to something that it wasn't supposed to be when it first started.
Mm-hmm. And also, one thing about, especially for women, for female bodybuilding, is the expense, because it's way more expensive compared to the men. The guys got to wear a pair of banana hammocks and board shorts. That's it. and the tanning. You ladies, you have to bring in a certain look. Both have both muscularity and femininity. You have to walk that fine line in between. It's hard because back in the day the suits were just nothing fancy. You may have a little something shiny, something a little silk or something a little, like I think that one that Corey wore her last Olympia. It was nice little, it was plain black, it was very shiny, it was nice, And now you're wearing the bedazzled suits, and then you have to have your jewelry, your makeup, your hair. I mean, and then also the other costs of competing, traveling to the shows, especially if you're still an amateur. You had to pay entry fees. Sometimes some competitors would do 2 divisions. I've even known ladies who've done 3 divisions, maybe doing figure, physique, and women's bodybuilding. Because they don't want to miss that opportunity. Because hey, you know what? It's like fishing. You just want to throw the line in and see which one's the hook.
Yeah, and I do think that that's something that shouldn't be allowed either. Is if you're going to be in a certain division, stay in that. Don't cross over into 3 different divisions that are supposed to have 3 different looks and then award the same person. Because then again, it kind of skews the lines of, what are they looking for? I can see it at the amateur level just because sometimes just the competitiveness, the person that shows up, maybe they are actually meant for figure and they get awarded that. But then compared to the girls that show up for physique or bodybuilding, they're just nowhere close to the standard that they need to be. But still, even in general, I just don't really feel like having a crossover ability, I don't really think is a great idea. It's pick the one that you're wanting to compete in and then go for that one.
Yeah, because I interviewed just last weekend Natalie Miller. She won her pro card both in physique and women's bodybuilding. She won the overall for women's bodybuilding, but she didn't get the overall in women's physique. And I remember I interviewed also another lady who did national. She was doing both figure and wellness, and she got a pro card in figure. And I think she's planning on maybe going to future move to physique. And I think one thing I said again about the women don't want to go up because it's just that it's maybe how they look for them. I mean, a lot of ladies don't want to get bigger. They want to stay nice, feminine, conditioned look. But then, like I said, you said, if you still like to train heavy and work out heavy, and bodybuilding is such an influential sport. I mean, a lot of players come in and say, I just want to be a cute little bikini girl. And they say, no, seeing somebody say Jessica Ray Padilla, or seeing someone like Natalia Cuejo, or even seeing someone like someone else like Andrea Shaw. They say like, you know what? I don't know if I want to, and I know there's no crossover with that new division, but it won't take it long for those competitors to say, you know what? I don't want to stick here. It's the evolution of any athlete, especially when you're a woman.
Yeah. Well, I think the other part of it too, especially now with any untested organization as well, is not just the costs financially, but then also having to think about the costs from like a health perspective with women too. Because especially at the pro level, you're not going to be competitive at the top without a certain amount of PEDs, unless you have really great genetics and you're willing to work your ass off and wait for multiple years, and most people aren't, which is kind of a problem of itself. It's a mentality I've had to break myself out of, but it's a lot more, the risks are a lot more extreme for women too, because there's changes that we're going to go through by the decisions that we make. And there are also changes that we're not necessarily going to come back from either. So
yeah,
not only is that a reason why people are tapping out is because of the look, but what they would have to give up in order to give that look. And now, is that worth it?
Yeah, it goes back to, you ever heard a show called Full Metal Alchemist?
Mm-mm.
Where it's a Japanese anime, and it's about these 2 brothers. They did some alchemy, and there's a rule in alchemy called equivalent exchange. In order to obtain something of either greater or lesser value must be lost. Now, in my way, I said something of either greater or equal value must be lost. And that's the thing is, when you get to sport, you have to sacrifice, like especially women, y'all have to sacrifice such things as biology. If you want to have kids, you don't have before you get into the sport, it's going to be hard for you after you have to get into sport. I know some ladies a handful of ladies were lucky enough to get pregnant as bodybuilders, but generally because you change your body and you getting some as I won't say, people say like y'all ain't trying to be men. No, you might get very some masculine, aspects, but you can never really be a man. A man's a state of mind. I'm a man, and I don't look like some of those guys that like the Ronnie Colemans or the Jay Cutlers or those other guys. Hey, I got boobs like some women, but but you have to understand it's a sport for passionate people, and you have to accept the sacrifice, the hard work, the consistency, the diet, the training. Like when you're training, what's the thing that you feel like you have to work on the most, and the thing that you need to really improve if you ever want to get the opportunity to step on a stage like an IFBB?
So I mean, just certain growth in certain areas. Like I said, having more cap in my delts, more thickness in my back, bigger legs are never a bad issue. But for me, just kind of the mentality of training in the gym, of a good balance of you need to do things that are effective and efficient, but you also have to be willing to take yourself to, you have to be willing to train hard, basically, if you want muscle to grow. And that's really kind of for anybody. If there's kind of a mental place that you have to push yourself into for the last couple reps to really get the most out of them. And it's a hard place. It's a hard place to get into if you're not used to training that way. Usually most people, when they're training, even just from like a general client, they have a lot more that they can give, but just mentally they don't think they can. So either they give up or it gets uncomfortable and they stop. And if you're going to be in bodybuilding, like you also have to train your brain to like go to those places, to really actually push yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that thing is you have to be able to be consistent, be focused, be determined. Some days you get tired and you may not want to go to the gym. You might not want to go work out. You might just want to lay in the bed, especially with your hubby, and say, I just want to lay with you, baby. I don't want to go nowhere. But because you want to reach those goals, you have to work at it. Anything worth having is never easy. But like I said earlier, a lot of young people want everything fast, fresh and hot, ready and fast. It doesn't work like that way. It takes time. It took like Andrea just celebrated her 41st birthday. She's 41 years old. It took her a long time to get to that point. So many ladies start hitting their prime around about, you're in your, early 30s. Maybe you start hitting yours around about maybe 3 or 4 years down the road. But it's a process. And this is why I often said this. It's not about trusting the process. It's about understanding the process. And then when you understand what's all involved in it, then trust it. Because it's so easy for coaches to give you a plan. And everybody's different, especially instead of getting women. Different biologies, different aspects. You just can't give the same thing you give to a guy who does 212, you give to a woman that does.
Yeah. And I mean, even the stress factor with women, I've seen this a lot, and even just from my own experience as well, but recovery for women is huge. Like we can't necessarily go in and train as hard and often and frequent as men do, especially if you've got a woman who has a career and has kids and has all these other things where she's stressed out all the time. Because if you're in this constant state of stress, you're not in a mode to actually grow. Like being stressed out, being in a stress state, it's going to inhibit that. And so also striking a balance is, I think this is one of the biggest ones that women can do, is making sure that they are balancing in time for recovery, and not just from a physical standpoint, but making sure that they're finding time to do even small things, just for their own mental well-being. But just because like where your mind's at, the body's going to follow. So if you're constantly going in and beating yourself up, and then you go home and you're rushing around and you're doing all of these things to manage the house, or you got this career where you're working 60 hours a week and you're constantly frazzled, even if you're going to the gym 6 days a week, you're really hurting yourself now more than helping yourself, because you're not allowing your body to relax. You're not allowing it to get in a state to recover and to build. It's always just in this spot of really just, it's more in just this flight or fight state. And we can't grow in that spot.
Mm-hmm. And make sure, who's your coach and who long y'all been working together?
So currently I'm coached by Kenneth Allman. We started working together in summer of 2021. And he was monumental in getting me to slow down, because I used to be one of those. I wanted to be in the gym. I wanted to do a lot of volume, really heavy, like all of the craziness. And I mean, there was multiple times over the course of 21 to 23 where he would sit me out of the gym for 2 weeks. Like I would have a lot of stress going on. I would have a lot of different life changes and things that were happening. And he would just flat out pull the gym out, because he would be like, if you go in and wreck yourself in the gym and you're already mentally wrecked from all these different angles, it's not going to help you. And he was like, you need to find a different outlet. And him doing that was actually what led me to getting into posing a lot more, because then that became more of my emotional outlet instead.
That's
So
good. Yeah, yeah, it's good that you him have a good relationship. You're working together. He's working with you. I mean, it's like I said, it's a lot, and to find, I often find some people say that they got to find the right person, especially fit their personality. Because some people jump from coaches to coaches, but then sometimes it's about maybe the coach or maybe it's just that competitor. And when you work it out, what's that favorite workout? You're just like, oh my God, I love doing it. And that word says, damn, well, I got to do it today.
So anything with back or shoulders, I absolutely love. Anytime that I have to do Bulgarian split squats, I absolutely hate it. They're amazing. They work. I'll do them. But oh man, the amount of anxiety I get before that, just not, not fun.
True story. I interviewed a lady who she turned pro about a couple years ago. She won her pro card both at the Romania Most Fest and wins bodybuilding and wins physique. She's a Bulgarian physique competitor bodybuilder. She loves Bulgarian split squats. She even did it with a wellness competitor. They were doing it together. I mean, it was she said like it's a Bulgarian and a Brazilian doing Bulgarian split squats together. That's crazy. So, but yeah, I mean, you have to enjoy this. And also the thing is about the diet also. Like, I know I asked this because I'm a bad guy and I sometimes I like food and then Bob, tell me, what is that thing? That's competition. That was calling your name. That was telling you, eat me, eat me.
So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of a couple things. Like, I'm a huge pizza fan. I'm a huge Indian food fan. I think we actually ended up getting barbecue after my last show. That was something I hadn't had really just in years. But I think for me, my relationship with food was a lot different coming out of this show. And that's because my food variety throughout my whole entire prep was insane. I had a couple coaches I'd worked with when I first got started, and they had me on that chicken asparagus, fish asparagus kind of diet. And with my coach I have now, like we didn't do that. I was eating fruits. I was eating different kinds of vegetables. If we would take something out because of like digestive issues, that was one thing. But in general, most of the nutrients that I got, we tried to get through food as long as we could. And then as I got deeper into prep, we would slowly start pulling things out and supplementing. But I mean, even when I was probably like 3 weeks out, I think I was still eating like berries and stuff like that, different kinds of fruits. I think at the 3-week point, he probably pulled that out. So for this last prep, I wasn't eating the same thing day in and day out. I was constantly switching meats from beef to salmon to chicken, and we just slowly would take things out, just mostly because of caloric reasons. So fattier meats would go, but it was not because of the food itself. It was just because of fattier meats going to have more calories, and we were just at a point where we had to cut the calories down a bit more. So yeah, when I came out of this show, like I was excited, I guess, in a way to eat food, but I actually was feeling pretty good in comparison to other years. And I think it was because we had so much food variety in that I think my body was a lot more better fueled. And it was the leanest I'd ever got too. So if people say that, you can only eat asparagus and tilapia or swifish to get lean, like it's false. It's absolutely debunked.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's good. I know somebody says that they don't like fruit because it causes inflammation. Chicken is generally the main thing on every diet. Not too, people don't eat a lot of pork because it's high in fat, but you need those fats because food is a weapon, a tool for bodybuilders. Just depending on what you eat and how you grow. You just can't just. Like, I remember one lady say before her show she had gelatos, and it's not good for you. And everything that is part of the process is a necessary needed, and also working with the right people with your diets and everything else and micros and all that There's so much involved to a lifestyle for a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I would say, like, if you're going in, especially as a competitor, if you're going in and you're searching for a coach, it should never just be I say you follow no matter what. Like if it's one of those kinds of coaches, or they're the coach that, well, my way is the only way, and they have their way for every single athlete, men or female, like across the board, different ages, different circumstances, run, absolutely run, because it's not. I mean, all humans are a little bit different. They have different variables in their life, and all of that goes into competing. So if you're going to find a coach, it needs to be somebody that you can actually work with. If you have questions, they need to be able to answer them with more than just because I said so. Like, they need to be able to back it up. They need to be able to send you evidence to look at, because that's just part of gaining trust, right? Like, you're allowing this person to do something with you that's very, very, very extreme. And if not careful, it can have really terrible results in the long term. So they have to, like, yes, you need to follow your coach's advice, but at the same time, if you have a coach that's kind of a tyrant and doesn't listen to you, like, you need to move on. You need to find somebody else, especially for females. If you're starting PEDs, you've never used them before, and you're starting, like, you need to be downloading a voice app, and you need to be recording yourself every month as well, because sometimes you'll have these subtle little changes, and if you're not monitoring it and you hear yourself every day, you might not catch it. So that way, if there's changes that are starting to happen because of the drug use, you can bring these back to your coach and be like, hey, before this becomes a huge issue, I'm starting to have some issues with this. And then that way you guys can come up with a different plan. If you have a good coach, they're going to tell you these things. They're going to set you up for this stuff, especially if that's something that you really care about. If you don't, then that's another story, and that's to each their own, and that's their own prerogative. But if you're going into the sport and you're trying to make it at the top, and especially if something like that comes into play, like, you have to have somebody that's looking out for your best interests in the long term, and not just using you as an athlete that they can put on their resume.
Yeah, like you do need a plan, especially you go into it, you need to find the right coaches. You got to find what works for you. Don't just jump out there fully without not knowing what you get involved to. But the other guy says, like, I never have a plan. How he says this? He says he's just a dog chasing cars. He didn't catch one, he didn't know what to do with it, so he doesn't have a plan. And that's good. Now, also, you said before you were sponsorship. That's one thing. Sponsorship does help. Are you still a sponsored athlete, or everything's on your shoulders?
No, I right now everything will be paid. Actually, my husband and I make a joke because he says he sponsors me. So,
Well, he's a man.
in a roundabout way, I have a sponsor. But no, I had a suit sponsor for a while, and then just now with where I'm at, I'm waiting. I'm basically waiting to get on stage. Like, I'm still working. There's still things I want to do with my physique. But there's a very certain specific way that I want to do it. There's changes that I absolutely will not compromise on. And so that's going to take a lot of time. So, when it comes to suit sponsors and stuff, like, I'm not really in a place to really promote their products anyway at this point. So yeah, so right now I'm not sponsored.
Yeah, it's so part, like I said, that, like your husband, he's supporting you, he's standing by you. That's a good man. That's a good man. You got a good man, Robbi.
He's great.
And yeah,
I'm a lucky lady. So,
and also, like, some people, especially with your family, they understand what's involved in it. I mean, especially when you got into when you're young and your parents are like worried about, Rob, we don't want you already have a brother, you will need another boy, yada yada yada. But you have to understand, you love what you love, and you have a passion for it. And sometimes things change your life, friends, families, everything that's involved, and those people sometimes just, don't really understand what it takes to be a bodybuilder.
yeah, my husband, so a lot of people will always ask me, they're like, oh, is he a bodybuilder? No, absolutely not. He wasn't into it, never really heard much about it. He's a pilot for American Airlines. So when we started dating, like officially started dating, I was already in prep. So the first 6 months of our relationship, I was getting ready for a show. So for him, it was a real deep dive into the competing atmosphere. And even now, like, he's starting to understand some things more, but in general, like, it's not for him. He doesn't get it. But especially from collaborating with other friends around the world and getting into the posing side of things and other opportunities that's opened, even though he doesn't necessarily fully understand it, he sees how much I love it. And so he supports it, and he tries to do everything that he can to push me forward, to get where I want to go.
Yeah. Well, to your husband, thank you for his service, as a, flying planes. I never been on a plane in my life. I got a friend of mine. He says, George, I want to do a show. I want you to fly out. Oh, hell no. I don't know. I'm not ready for it. You have to do like Mr. T in the 18. That was before your time. You remember that show? And he used to put something in his drink and stuff like that. And he said, hey, fool. So, but yeah, I mean, it's good to have that, because people always making these assumptions about you with it. And I hear it from the ladies themselves. I've seen it, where like, trying to be a man, trying to be this, no, you're an athlete and you love this sport and you're passionate about it, and you want to be your best representation of yourself. And yeah, you don't want to do too far, because you don't want to go in and say, I just saw like Danny Boo, now it's like I'm Vin Diesel, Fast and Furious, 500 fights, but that's all depending on where that person wants to go. If they know their limitation, that's good. And I would say this, sponsorship would really help a lot of competitors. If I could do, if I was somebody, I would love to say sponsor you, but you have the real guy. Hey, Robbi, I saw you posting. You're kind of cute. Yeah, so your husband is a pilot, so you won't mind doing the ma. No. People, stop that. Stop that. Be like this. Mrs. Carlson, we are interested in you. We love your energy and your perspectives on bodybuilding, and you have just a particularly great personality about yourself. So we have a product. If it works with you and your training and what you want to go with and your goals, we'd like you to be one of our brand ambassadors. So let us know, and anytime you're ready, we'll save things up for you, and we have a great future for you. And we'd like to see you grow as an athlete, other more than that. So, Mrs. Carlson, will you ever be interested in working with our company?
Yep, and I would be certainly interested.
Well, thank you. So, sign a contract, baby. So, folks, we're not going to hold much too longer. This young lady took some time out to talk with me. She has some great perspectives. I think she has a great future, whatever she's doing. She's also a coach. Are you having clients right now you're working with proposing, or just,
Yeah, so I've got, right now I've got about 5 people that's getting ready to sign up for packages in January. I think one just signed up today, and then the other few are waiting until after the holidays are over. December is a very, very slow season. I think if anybody watches this and they're a posing coach, they know that. But yeah, since the season's around the corner, everybody's wanting to get ready. And all my friends and I who are super into this, we try to tell people, don't wait till you're 8 weeks out. Like, start before your prep starts. It's a lot easier to learn what you need to learn. And then you're just keeping it fresh, and you're just growing on what you've already known and improving it, rather than trying to catch up and learn everything when you're already tired and you just don't have the mental bandwidth to process it. So
yeah. And also, I think we have the Almost Original Classic that's in another 3 months. One of the biggest shows that's in bodybuilding. Even though I love the movies, growing up watching Terminator, Schwarzenegger, but I don't like his politics about female bodybuilding. He kicked out women's bodybuilding, got rid of Miss International, kicked out Physique, kicked out Figure. I mean, I understand that it's always about promotion, but hey, if you can put up $500,000 for the men's division, you can sneak in an extra $100,000 for the other divisions. Come on. I mean, but I understand. But as a fan, and as said in my crime again, Robbi, I'm a muscle person. I love your ladies. It may not be the 80s, but I'm still down with you ladies, because and people don't like us again. They don't understand when we see you in the audience. We see y'all buffed up, shredded, vascular. But others don't understand that what it took you to get you there. You're tired, dehydrated, a lot of work, time, sacrifices. You couldn't go, like I know sometimes, your husband want to, hey, baby, let's go out and have dinner. Nah, I can't do it. I can't eat there. You be around family. Christmas is just been over. Family functions gonna be like, hey, everybody's having cake and ham and pie and things, but you have to eat your food that you set for yourself for your prep. You make so many sacrifices. I think your sacrifice should be rewarded, either monetary wise, making money, or getting your pro card. So and what's the plan for 2025?
Oh man, so honestly, at this moment, I don't know specifically yet. I know I'm not going to be competing in 2025. I'll be working more in the posing realm, the coaching realm, and then I've got a couple potential opportunities that I'll know more details about here in the coming months. That's again more into the posing and creative realm, and then potentially starting a master's degree in clinical therapy. So,
well, best luck on that. Like I said, whatever finds that you like and things that you really are passionate about, go ahead and do it. The bodybuilder is always going to be here. Don't no need to rush. It's not going anywhere time soon. So,
yep.
What would you, as yourself, what the most out for your life in bodybuilding?
So for me, things changed quite a bit. What I want the most out of it right now is honestly finding an avenue where people can come back and kind of represent more of what the 80s, 90s feel was. Give a place where people with different looks, but the same love and passion for the sport, and especially the art side of the sport with the posing. My big vision is helping create an avenue for some of that to come back and more attention to come back to that.
Well, that's truth. I think this sport's been around for a long time. It has evolved. The look has changed. The women have changed. The men have changed. The guys still get a little leeway because men can get big and freaky as they want, but women they can't. They want to keep in that little box, but you can't, like I said, you can't contain something. Once you pop that cork, and that genie comes out, it's hard to get it back in. You have to either, here's say like this: the NPCIB, instead of trying to bring in another division, sit and talk with the judges, sit and talk with the athletes. If you see someone like like one example like this, instead of Sarah being the Miss Olympia, should have been Sharonka Hitton. She has a better look. She's more of the throwback. She's been a multiple-time Olympic competitor. I think Andrea's good where she's at. Now that City Gill is retired, well, don't give it to Jessica Ray Padilla or Laura Montez. Give it to the girls on the lower end and see who have that look that's more, close to what was figure. But like I said again, understand every one of these athletes are evolving. Even if you bring in a new division, even if you try to put it, you just can't stop evolution. That's how it is with humans, especially how extreme and how influential the sport of bodybuilding is, especially on a person. So, young lady, I do appreciate your time for coming here and talk with me and giving your perspective. Oh, the other guy got to tell you something before he goes. He says, Robbi, I want to tell you something. You don't mind me saying this? You are beautiful. Yeah, I gotta take care of him. I gotta see a specialist. I don't know why, but so you have anybody you want to shout out before we let you go?
I mean, really outside of my husband, he's been really my biggest support in all of this. I mean, even when we were friends and I was just getting into posing, he's literally gotten every single one of my videos from the time that I've started and was absolutely terrible to now. And he pretty much every step of the way has encouraged me to keep going. So I think the biggest person that I really need to shout out it would be him. So I wouldn't be the person I am today, and I wouldn't be where I'm at in posing today if it really wasn't for him. So.
Well, that's good. That's, like I say, that's a good man. And stand by you and see you grow and respect your passion for the sport. I mean, most people, that's again, I've had ladies told me that relationships, one lady had told me her husband broke up with her because she's getting into bodybuilding. Friends have been lost, and and family. I mean, one lady told me that her mother don't even talk about it because her dad loves her and support her because hey, that's every father loves their little girl, wants to see them do what they want to do, but it's good that you have that. The friends and family you have that do support you, and you have a passion for it. Whatever next to the posing thing, yeah, it's a good future. People like Janine Lakowski. There's one guy I often hear a lot about, Kenny Waller. He's very popular among the competitors, and I do hope the best for you in your future, whatever you want to do and what passion is. This is from my man, KL the Wanderer. Says, hey, what's up, brother? Yeah, brother, we're about to leave out. You came in late. Tony just started seeing the crime, in the crime. So I'd like to say thank you. Hope you have a great new year. Hope opportunities are there for you. Like I said again, I stand by you, ladies. Like I said, I have a small channel, and guys like me and Ryan and Didi on the spot and Female Body Channel. My man K also does content on Women's Bodybuilding. That's Female Body Informed. We love to give y'all ladies a voice. I would love someday to have, and this is my favorite thing. I would love to have Andrea on here. It's a friend of mine got this for me, and this is why I love this, because my friend Eunice, she runs Bad Rap, their clothing line. Andrea signed it for me.
No, awesome.
I know. It's just a great way. And to me, that's just something to highlight. When I still have ladies one lady sent me a Christmas card, birthday card. I really, appreciate those friendships I've gained doing this content. This is from man KL. He says, I was working. So what? You're working. And he says, stop torturing us. Hey, that's not torture, because I'm a particular type of criminal. Just love chaos. So man, I'm gonna hold you too much longer. And I really appreciate you and thank you for taking time to talk with me. Hope all the best for you, your husband, your future, everything you want to do, your clients. And like I said, if everyone come back here and shoot the shit, you're a welcome guest.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm appreciative of you guys having a place like this. So thank you.
The quote from my favorite movie, Batman Begins, at the end where Jim Gordon said to Batman, I never got a chance to thank you. And I said, you never have to. Because like I said, this is if you ladies need a place just to vent, shoot your shit, just to share your story, you're a welcome guest here. Like I said, y'all ladies need a lot of recognition. It's a lot of work to be about it. No one's going to be famous. If you're lucky enough to make the money, but you're just going to be banana hammocks and board shorts. But, I will say best of luck to you in the future. And let's see how things go.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All righty. You're welcome, man. Really like to thank my man Gino James coming through. Also, my man KL, the wonderful coming through. Anybody who watches this video, comment, subscribe, follow us, follow social media, support us. If you want to follow Robbi, the link is in the description of this live. Guys, you know my rules. You know my rules. It's a saying I say like this, guys. You get more with a silk glove than with an iron fist. And I know what you're doing with that iron fist. So. And so, as I said again, I'm sicko. But anyway, folks, this is the man always show page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Don't like, subscribe. Have a happy new year. Christmas is gone, and God bless.
Thank you. You too.
You too.